Newsfirst, face to face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
A very good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Face to Face, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. And as always, we have a very intriguing guest with us in our studios tonight. He is Member of Parliament Rauff Hakeem, representing the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, who is also the leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress. A very good evening to you, Mr. Hakeem, and welcome on the show.
Good evening, Jamal. Pleased to be with you after a while now.
Certainly. And Mr. Hakeem, my first question to you this evening is, parliamentary sessions recommenced for the year 2024 yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and what dominated parliamentary debates and parliamentary session yesterday was the Red Sea crisis, mainly Sri Lanka's decision to deploy naval vessels to the Red Sea to aid the United States in their fight against the Houthi rebels who are attacking cargo ships that are linked to Israel, allegedly. And you were very outspoken yesterday in Parliament. I think even on our news bulletin we carried your very outspoken views, your very hard thought views. What do you think about that situation, Mr. Hakeem?
Totally unwarranted for Sri Lanka to be stepping into boxing ring here, because the right of passage in international waters and maritime security, there are bigger nations to undertake this task. You see, when the US Sixth Fleet and various other forces are guarding the, they are stationed in the Mediterranean, and then there is in the neighborhood there are many other countries. You see, so it seems that Sri Lanka has been used as a cat's paw by the Western Bloc,
right,
to try and step in there to aid Israel. So this is a serious foreign policy blunder.
Right.
You see, and in the Middle East with, we have joined the international chorus calling for immediate halt to the ongoing genocide in the Gaza Strip. There seems to be no relenting on the part of the Israelis.
Right.
And amidst this, there is this belligerent group that operates in that area. The Houthis have begun attacking Israeli-owned ships, and they are what they have been heard to say is that we will stop this attack if Israel calls a halt to the ongoing bombardment of the Gaza Strip. You see, and then Israel has totally ignored UN call. You see, General Assembly resolutions. Of course, the Security Council have been
tight-lipped about this.
Not tight-lipped, because they have whatever action that was sought to be taken have been vetoed by United States. So we are going to the assistance of the United States here at a time when that is why I said yesterday that the President is supposed to be going on the 18th to the non-aligned summit in Uganda, in Kampala. So he is trying to send a message to the non-aligned movement as well, that we are now aligned with the US. We are no more with the...
This is an indirect message.
Yeah, it is. It's a serious foreign policy blunder, and I don't think this will be taken too kindly. You see, whatever regimes may be, quite apart from the reaction by the regimes themselves in the Western Asian region, the civil population is also looking at this. Every government is under pressure from the people. Even in the United States, you can see scores of people protesting, right,
against the ongoing calamities. Yes,
and but the rulers seems to be, deaf to the noises from the streets. So this is very, very sad. And then look at the situation where countries like South Africa, Brazil, even Bangladesh have taken the matter to the ICC and the International Court of Justice.
Yes.
Right? So they have been bold enough to do such things. But we have been parroting out this two-state solution mantra all the time. Fully well knowing that Israel has been purposely avoiding this issue and not doing everything to scuttle the two-state solution.
Right.
Every time it comes up. And this so-called aggression on the Gaza Strip, and see the disproportionateness of their attacks, because it's Hamas's
military
missiles
might and the Israel
might of the fifth largest army in the world, with the well-equipped
and the technological advancements they possess.
And then all these arsenals are supplied by the Americans, the US.
Yes.
So they are complicit in this. So therefore, one day, the leadership in Israel, the Israeli Defense Forces Command, will have to answer the genocide charges.
Right. So,
hopefully.
In his speech responding to all of the allegations that were levelled by the opposition yesterday, State Minister of Defence Premita Bandarathenakon said that as we are seeking support from the international community, we have a collective responsibility, a global responsibility to fulfill. If we are seeking support, we have to be willing to fulfill our duties as well. So that is the thought process of the government. What are your thoughts on that?
There are so many big naval powers all around the Indian Ocean rim, right? And none of them have come forward to do this, right? I mean, those countries which want to protect and make sure that maritime security is assured, right? Of course, in piracy, we have wherever possible, we have helped. But then what is the arsenal we have?
Yes.
Do we have the proper vessels to combat this type of the Western powers are simply using us as a cat's paw, and we have virtually become slaves for their own foreign policy blunders.
This also poses a risk to Sri Lanka's national security as well.
Indeed it is. Indeed. I mean, what would happen is that this would be used by, even in the past, even if you look at the Easter Sunday attacks, there has been these allegations of deep state involvement, right? And I won't be surprised, suddenly you find a few bombs going off there and here, and then putting the blame onto the Houthis, right? And to create another situation where the whole political process can be manipulated for interested parties to come to power. And this is what happened
because
with the
it is an election year after all.
Yeah, this is what we fear. Right? All these things will be used for other purposes. So there are various other forces at work trying to would want to manipulate the situation for their advantage. And we feel that this blunder we'll have to pay a serious price. Of course, the Western powers, they can use us and then discard us whenever they want. Yeah. What have we got in return for what we are doing? I mean, and on top of it, what did we do a month ago, right? Our Labour Minister goes and says, and we have got a contract to supply 10,000 labourers to Israel. And those labourers are to replace the poor Gaza people who were being employed. Who were being employed in Israeli farms.
Agriculture.
Yeah. So these farmhands became in short supply. And then to fill the gap, we are sending our people. And there again, it was serious corruption. Serious corruption was there in even providing those contracts. There were so many allegations floating around. So when I questioned this issue, well, the minister's reply was that to take me on, saying that we must ban all these religious political parties, and we are not a religious political party. We are a approved political party. So this is how they are trying to You see, now forgetting the sentiments of all the other Middle Eastern countries where there is, we are having almost a million or more employed in the region by the Arab states. You see, so we go and become slavishly dependent on these jobs, which also are very risky.
Yes.
You see? Very risky jobs. And then if something happens to some of our laborers there, and when then bodies come here, what would happen?
Yes.
Unnecessary tensions here will again be created.
Yes.
Right?
And this is certainly sour relations between us and Arab nations as well.
Indeed.
Because Arab nations have been very vociferous against the ongoing slaughter in Gaza. So, and we know that foreign remittances are one of the key sources of foreign revenue to Sri Lanka. So this has an effect in multiple fronts, from the foreign policy front, from foreign expatriates and revenue generation and so on. So why do you think the government even thought of going ahead with such a task?
This
is mere influence? Do you believe this is being influenced by another party?
No. I think even from the neighborhood there must be some influence. You see, I mean, these people have, we have seen even in the past. You see, some countries have even not got on board even to call for a ceasefire.
Yes.
Right? And subsequently they changed their stance.
Yes.
But then for us to be doing this, now look at what is the, foreign policy imperative for us to be getting involved in this is our issue. You see, what do we, what happens to our underlying policy, you see, and then you seem to say that we have that this will impact our own economy, and then shipping rates are going up, insurers will hike up their maritime insurance for
prices,
vessels, and therefore this impacts us, and that is the reason that we are going to do it. And when we are just a ragtag navy. I mean, we are not a big time navy in the
we are not a dominant
in the region. There are other dominant forces, right? And then there is this serious issue of other nations not getting involved, because it can flare up into a serious outbreak of war.
Right.
You see, because to prevent that, they get a far-off small nation like us to be going and doing the dirty work for them, right? And whereas these Houthis have very clearly said, if Israel stops the attacks, we will stop this attack.
Yes.
Right? So for us to be a international policeman in this situation is totally foolhardy, and then we will. And then forgetting the fact that it's the OIC countries that came to our rescue, even in Geneva.
Yes.
Even in Geneva, OIC, until the government followed this disastrous policy of forced cremation, you see, that deprived us of many votes,
COVID
and finally we ended up with just 11 votes.
Yes.
Right. So all that happened because of our own blunders. Right. But before that, there were substantial number of votes from the OIC countries, whoever was there in the Human Rights Council voting bloc, we had stood by us, right? So we seem to be antagonizing all of them by going, and we are pure and simple, we are going to the aid of Israelis, because they are attacking Israeli-owned ships or ships with which there is Israeli stake in it. Right, so it's seen as a roundabout way in assisting Israel in the war against the Palestinians.
It's truly a sad state to see Sri Lanka, who used to broker peace deals for the countries and champion the non-aligned movement, siding
and
with
for a president who is intending to contest an election. Right. And then, you see, affecting the sentiments of a vast number of Sri Lankans in this way, right? And trying to show his bravado in
the
this manner
circuit.
is going to be disastrous, in my opinion.
So let's bring things back to Sri Lanka. today was an interesting day in Parliament because the Minister of Justice tabled the anti-terrorism bill in Parliament once more, which was subject to much scrutiny when it was initially presented to Parliament. So give me your thought process on that as well, Mr. Hakeem. Were you able to go through some of the provisions? They said, the Minister said that most of the provisions that were supposed to be inconsistent with the Constitution or were affecting or impeding on the rights of the people have been removed or the powers have been lessened. So were you able to go through that bill?
Yes, I did. In fact, I as soon as he presented the bill, I questioned from the Minister from the floor of the House as to what is the difference between the previous bill and this.
Right.
And since the previous bill came in for so much of criticism, in fact, after having presented it in Parliament, after the matter was just about to be reviewed by the Supreme Court in terms of the
content.
The Supreme Court determination matters.
Yes.
So now today they have presented it. We have 2 weeks to go before courts. We also are now thinking of studying the bill.
Do you plan on challenging it in court?
Yeah, we are planning of challenging it in court, and I personally want to appear and challenge it. So in this case, there have been several issues, and particularly last time, the definition of terrorism itself is an issue, right?
Yes.
And I don't see much of a big change because they earlier had a very, very broad definition where they could capture every civilian activity or civil
any
protest.
act of dissent could have been
labeled caught up in this. But even now I find there is not much of a massive change in the definition. And it was quite, last time they had to withdraw or rather take a step back because there was so much of a
public outcry.
No, because not only outcry, they wanted to save face in Geneva.
Right.
It was on the eve of Geneva sessions in September that
this was tabled.
That is tabled, and then
quite an ill-timed decision, I would say.
Ill-timed decision, and then most of the Western countries took exception to what was happening, and then it was their pressure that resulted in them taking a step back and again reviewing it. But then this new incarnation, I don't see much of a difference, though the minister attempted to put a veneer of
justification
on this, but the definition itself is still too broad, in my opinion. So he was trying to say there is no specific definition anywhere in the international arena. Every country, does what they want. But then for us, because the whole process, the question of impunity in this country is a serious issue.
Yes.
And then what about the assurance given in Geneva for a moratorium on the PTA? Even to date, they are using the PTA.
Yes.
Right? Having given the assurance that we will not use the PTA until we present a new bill, right? But in the interim, they have ad nauseam applied the PTA in variety of cases when it suits them, when they can't contain civil protest, particularly even a few days ago. In the Northern Theatre, some of those people were protesting about their missing relatives, and when some women activists started protesting about the president's visit, and they were taken in on the supposedly on the pretext of having violated the PTA. So this is where what happens to the moratorium. Right? These are just empty promises given to the international community. Right?
And on the other hand, this does not bode well with the subject of ethnic harmony either, because we know the PTA historically has been used against people representing the minority communities. I don't want to use the word minorities, but not Sinhalese, but mostly Tamils and Muslims.
Indeed. I mean, after Easter Sunday attacks, the Muslim community also had to face the brunt of this.
The repercussions.
Repercussions. And it was being used all the time, willy-nilly to incarcerate scores of young people, right, on very flimsy charges, and most of them have now got out on bail, and there are a few still behind bars. But it has shown that this this culture of impunity is being covered up by such legislation and their abuse. So our law enforcement authorities have also blunted their efficiency because of the use of the shortcuts to use such legislation to keep people in custody for long periods of time. Of course, those things are being, to a certain extent, reduced or through the new legislation, but still the discretion is too broad. Right, and then particularly the administrative custody issues, right, and that's the worst thing because they, without any judicial supervision, you can keep people in custody, right, and they, in the previous legislation, they gave every DIG under the authority. You see, we have dozens of DIGs all over the country. You see, each person for their own whim and fancy can
be
start,
able to
putting people behind bars. You see, so this abuse has to stop, and then this outcry against this, and it has also, as I told you, reduced the efficiency of our police investigations. Right, because they have the shortcuts that are available, particularly admissions of confessions. Though they are now seeking to remove it now
to magistrates.
So
the effectiveness of the investigation will be stifled for sure.
Totally stifled. All the efficiencies
and justice will not.
Entire criminal justice system has been weakened by such legislation. That is what we have to look at, right? And because there are so many crimes that have not been solved up to date. Now look at Lasantha Wickramatunga's murder. Right. It was just day before yesterday that we commemorated his
15th
year after his assassination. And what we should remember very clearly, just about 48 hours before Lasantha was killed, there was this Claymore attack on your studios.
The Panama studios.
The Panama studios. And so there you don't have to be looking for the smoking gun. You see, who was in power then? Who had the ability to come to the city and use Claymore bombs on a TV station and such devastation? Was it possible for anybody else to have access to such
ammunition,
such explosives
and ammunition.
So so it was very clear, and then it was just 48 hours after that attack that Lasantha was killed in open broad daylight. And what happened to those investigators? All of them subsequently, when the former regime came to power, right, they started arresting every one of those investigators who shed light on those crimes, right? Shania Besekara and the entire lot was taken into custody, and then finally court said no, and the courts in their judgments in releasing them on bail had been so harsh on the police department, and then I would even say the Attorney General's department. How could they ever resist bail for these people? Right?
I think that sends a message to even honest investigators and policemen to not sometimes to turn a blind eye when they see that there is clear evidence of a certain crime.
It is a total mockery. And then, in fact, the courts very clearly, in awarding bail to Shania Besekara, very clearly stated that documents have been falsified and deliberate false evidence have been produced in order to have him in custody for such a long time.
Yes, carry on.
No. So this is the whole culture of impunity in this country has come as a result of not only incompetence but deliberate disregard for the law by our own law enforcement agencies, right? And they have been manipulated by political masters for their own advantage.
So, since we are on this topic, I want to talk to you about another contentious mission that has been going on in Sri Lanka over the past few weeks, Operation Yuktiya, that has been cracking down on illegal drugs and also organized criminals and organized criminal gangs. What is your thought on Operation Yukti? Does it do more good than bad, or vice versa?
So if you want to do drug busting and catch the drug lords in the country, you only have to do one thing.
Which is?
You have to appoint an acting Inspector General and not make him permanent. Right? So that's what it says. Right? So since the Constitutional Council is dragging its feet on making a permanent appointment,
yes.
People want to convince the Constitutional Council they are very efficient.
Yes.
Right?
I saw parliamentarian Rohita Begunavardhana also vouching for the acting IGP, asking why the acting tag is still in place with him doing such a wonderful job.
Yeah. And there are senior officers. You know, the thing is they and then it's very conveniently some people they create they file some case or the other and then try to show that there are pending cases against so and so, therefore they can't be promoted. Right? There are efficient officers all round.
Yes.
Right? And then there is a conviction against the current acting IGP.
Definitely.
Right? So
by the Supreme Court itself.
Yeah, by the Supreme Court itself. So in that situation, how can anybody go ahead and then?
How can anyone trust the law?
No. This is now look at 26,000 people arrested. They say right. Our prisons are already overcrowded.
Yes.
At least have some alternate measures.
Yes.
Right. And try and see how much of these people are seriously involved in this. But if such thing, and then see without already Bar Association is up in arms. Yes. Human Rights Commission has issued a statement.
Yes.
Right. To without any legal sanction or rather the judicial supervision, right? What prevents them from getting a arrest warrant or even when you want to demolish buildings?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You go and willy-nilly start demolishing buildings. I mean, where is rule of law in this country?
Yes.
Right? There's something called rule of law. Right? It has to be.
The basis for that was that documents had been forged.
Cowboy attitude in going about busting crime is in a country with rule of law is not the done thing. It can't be tolerated. So to get some cheap publicity, you can start doing these things to show the people.
But the fact of the matter is, even some people are subscribing to this.
Yeah, same acting IGP was in charge of the Western Province for so many
years.
Almost 3 years or so or more, right?
So your question is why it wasn't implemented
We saw what he
before.
did in Galface, right?
Yes.
It was despicable. Right, in this situation, I don't attach much importance to this tamasha that is going on.
So is this another political drama, you believe?
It is. But what about the big guns? You see? So, I mean, there are the fancy names for all these underworld fellows.
Yes.
You see? And some of the fancy names we come to know only now. You see? This Roshan, that
Harakkata and so on.
All kinds of names are there. And then you come and try and catch the sparrows.
So, although we're running out of time, I want to very quickly ask you, it's an election year, we know that there's a presidential election coming up. You represent the Samagi Jana Alliance as the leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, and most of your voters are centered in the eastern and the northern provinces. How is the sentiment looking like from those voters for the opposition and your candidate, Sajid Premadasa?
As a matter of fact, people are totally disenchanted with the governing style of the present government.
Yes.
And you see, I mean, their only issue is that they keep talking about we have brought the queue era to an end. And then there are no more queues.
Yes.
There are no more
down.
shortages. Inflation has come down. But then the earning capacity of the people is totally lost.
Yes.
And then, and these are all agricultural belts.
Yes.
You see what has happened to now the peasants, the farmers. You see, up to now, though the government is promising to have to be giving subsidies for fertilizer, it has still not reached the farmers properly, right?
Right.
though the treasury seems to be, yesterday I heard the agriculture minister says that we have now released the funds and they can have it, but none of them have had it in some of those areas. It is still to be distributed. And on top of it, now they are hit by the floods.
Yes.
The serious floods starting from Mullaitivu down to Panama.
Yes.
Yeah, entire eastern coast is underwater, right? And then with the climate change issues, with the faulty agricultural policies of the former regime, the whole issue is, and then on top of it, they are going and importing kiri samba.
Yes.
Right? Somebody is pocketing money.
Yes.
This is what is happening. You see. So kiri samba prices need to be controlled, but then what is happening is what you need to control is the import of the prices of samba rice in this country. So the harvest is on, and then once this harvest comes to the market, there will be serious impact on the farmers.
Right. So it's been a very engaging conversation with Member of Parliament Rauff Hakeem tonight. We spoke about all things local, international, the Red Sea crisis, the proposed laws and so on. And thank you very much, Mr. Hakeem, for joining me and sharing your very candid views on every matter that we discussed about. And we wish you all the best in your future endeavours as well.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be invited. Thanks.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for Face to Face tonight. Do take care and have yourselves a great night.